Be honest. How many times have you done the right thing thinking it would make you happy, only to feel frustrated, unappreciated, or even miserable? You were kind, but people took advantage of you. You worked hard, but no one rewarded you. You sacrificed for others, but in the end, you were left alone. And you told yourself, it's okay, good things will come, happiness will come. But it didn't. Society taught you that if you were a good person, happiness would follow. That if you were selfless, patient, and moral, life would reward you. But Schopenhauer saw through this lie, and he understood something that most people never realize. Happiness is not the result of goodness. It's an illusion, a trick that keeps you chasing something you will never truly hold. He believed that life is not about fairness, joy, or fulfillment. It's about suffering and desire. And the more you believe that goodness will bring happiness, the more trapped you become. So the real question is, what if everything you believed about happiness was wrong? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never see happiness the same way again. Let's begin. Think about the kindest people you know, the ones who always help, who always listen, who always put others first. Are they the happiest people you know, or are they the most exhausted, the most frustrated, the ones who carry the most silent resentment? Here's the truth. Good people don't suffer because the world is cruel. They suffer because they expect it to be fair. They believe that kindness will be rewarded, that patience will be recognized, that selflessness will bring happiness. But reality doesn't work that way. You've seen it yourself. The hardest worker is often overlooked for a promotion. The most loyal friend is the one people take for granted. The most loving partner is sometimes the one left behind. And when this happens, good people don't just feel hurt, they feel betrayed. Because deep down, they believe that life owes them something. But Schopenhauer would tell you, life owes you nothing. He saw morality not as a force that shapes reality, but as a human invention, designed to make life tolerable. It's a comforting illusion, one that makes suffering feel meaningful. But that illusion has a cost, because the more you believe that goodness leads to happiness, the more pain you feel when reality proves you wrong. And this pain doesn't just come from the world, it comes from within. It turns into resentment, into exhaustion, into a quiet bitterness that good people never admit to feeling. And this is the real trap. Good people don't just suffer. They keep suffering because they refuse to let go of the belief that one day their happiness will come. But what if Schopenhauer was right? What if happiness was never promised? What if morality was never meant to bring joy, but only to keep you moving forward? And if that's true, then what have you really been chasing this whole time? Because the next truth Schopenhauer uncovered is even harder to accept. Happiness itself is an illusion. What if the happiness you've been chasing your entire life was never real to begin with? Schopenhauer believed that happiness is not a destination, it's bait, a trick played by nature to keep you moving, striving, wanting, without ever letting you rest. At the core of his philosophy is something he called the will to life, the blind, relentless force that drives all living things. It doesn't care about your happiness, it only cares that you desire something. Because as long as you desire, you keep going. Think about it. You set a goal. You tell yourself, once I achieve this, I'll finally be happy. You get it. You feel good, and for a moment, then you want more. A new goal, a bigger challenge, a deeper craving. And suddenly, you're running again, chasing something else, convinced that this time, it will be different. But it never is, because as Schopenhauer saw, happiness is not something you have. It's something you experience in flashes between two states of suffering. First, there's the pain of wanting something you don't have. Then the momentary relief of getting it. And finally, the emptiness of realizing it wasn't enough, starting the cycle all over again. This is why people who spend their lives chasing happiness never find it. The rich man reaches his goal but still feels empty. The famous celebrity, adored by millions, still battles depression. The person who thought love would complete them ends up feeling alone even in a relationship, because happiness as we imagine it doesn't exist. And here's the most painful part. The more you chase it, the more it escapes you. Schopenhauer believed that people suffer not because life is cruel, but because they refuse to see it as it really is. They cling to hope. They tell themselves, if I just try harder, if I just stay positive, if I just give it more time, I'll find happiness. But all they're doing is feeding the will to life, trapped in a cycle of endless wanting, endless disappointment, endless frustration. So if happiness is an illusion, what's the alternative? Schopenhauer had an answer, but it's not what you think. Because the real escape isn't about chasing more, it's about learning to need less. And once you understand this, you stop being a slave to the game. If happiness is an illusion, why does everyone tell you to chase it? Why does every book, every commercial, every self-help guru repeat the same message? You deserve to be happy. Find your passion and you'll be fulfilled. True happiness is just one step away. Schopenhauer would tell you, this isn't an accident, because a society filled with people who are truly content is a society that stops moving. And that is something the world cannot afford. Think about it. A worker who believes that happiness comes from success will keep climbing the corporate ladder, even if he's miserable. A consumer who believes happiness comes from material things will keep spending, even if he never feels satisfied. A believer who thinks suffering will bring eternal joy will keep obeying, even if his life is filled with pain. This is why governments, corporations, and religions all push the same idea. Happiness is just around the corner. Keep going, keep buying, keep obeying. Because as long as you believe that happiness is something you must earn, you remain easy to control. The economy needs you to be dissatisfied. Religions need you to seek salvation. Social structures need you to conform. If you ever realized that happiness, at least the way they define it, was a scam, the system would collapse. That's why they don't want you to stop and ask, what if I don't actually need all of this? Because the moment you stop chasing happiness, you stop being useful to them. And this is what Schopenhauer understood better than anyone. He didn't just see happiness as an illusion, he saw it as a trap. A way to keep you running, striving, suffering, always reaching for something that will never truly satisfy you. But here's the real question. If happiness isn't the goal, then what is? Schopenhauer had an answer, but it's not the one you've been taught to believe, because the real escape isn't about chasing something new, it's about letting go of the chase altogether. And once you do that, everything changes. By now, you might be asking yourself, if happiness is an illusion, then what's left? If I stop chasing it, won't life become meaningless? Won't I just feel empty? Schopenhauer's answer was radical, but it wasn't hopeless. Because the real problem was never that happiness is fake. The real problem was that you believed you needed it to begin with. See, most people live trapped in a cycle. They want something. They suffer until they get it. They feel relief for a moment. Then they want something else. And this cycle never ends. It only stops when you decide to step out of it. Schopenhauer called this renuncia, the ability to free yourself from the endless craving for more. It doesn't mean rejecting life. It doesn't mean becoming cold or numb. It means realizing that you don't have to play the game at all. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most at peace. They probably weren't the moments when you finally got what you wanted. They were the moments when, for a brief second, you didn't want anything at all. A sunset, a quiet walk, a moment of stillness where everything felt enough, where you weren't chasing, craving, needing. That feeling, that's what's real. Because true freedom doesn't come from achieving happiness. It comes from realizing you never needed to chase it to begin with. Schopenhauer believed that the happiest people weren't the ones who had the most, but the ones who had learned to want the least. So the real question isn't, how do I find happiness? The real question is, what happens if I stop needing it? Because once you do that, you become untouchable. Now you see it. The illusion, the endless chase, the game you were taught to play, one you could never win. You spent your life believing that happiness was a goal, a reward, something you had to earn through effort, kindness, and patience. But Schopenhauer saw through it. He realized that happiness was never real. It was just a trick of the mind, a temporary relief between two states of suffering. And now you have a choice. You can keep chasing happiness, hoping that this time it will last. Or you can step back, detach, see the world for what it really is. Not a puzzle to be solved, but an experience to be accepted. Because the moment you stop needing happiness to feel complete, you become something else. Not empty, not numb, but free. And once you see the truth, you can never unsee it.